Hello and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. Today's video is the life and legacy of King Henry VI, our monarch of the month for October. So his father is where the story begins, and his father is King Henry V. As we can see there's Henry V. Henry V's wife, and therefore Henry VI's mother, was Catherine of Valois, as we can see there. Now they only had one son together, and that son was born on the 6th of December in 1421. And this son was born at Windsor Castle, near London. As you can see, a grand palace, a very nice place to be born, and that son was Prince Henry, who would go on to be the future King Henry VI of England. Now only around 9 months later, on the 31st of August 1422, King Henry V died, meaning his son, the young Prince Henry, was now King Henry VI, at aged only 9 months. So of course in these early years of reign, Henry's reign was ruled on behalf, as he was only less than a year old, by two opposing uncles. The uncles were, these are very powerful of course, related to the king, Cardinal Beaufort and Cardinal Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester. So very, very powerful people related to the king. Now one interesting thing is, although he was only a very young child, a baby, from 1422 onwards, his coins depicted him as a fully grown, or at least a young man on the coins. But actually during this time he was actually ruled on behalf by the uncles, who they ruled very weakly and ended up losing land in France. Now then, we come to Westminster Abbey, as we can see here, a grand building, and at this abbey, on the 6th of November in 1429, Henry VI was crowned as King of England, and although he was still very young, he was now given more powers to rule rather than all the power for his uncles. And then on the 14th of December in 1431, he was crowned King of France in Notre Dame, as of course England ruled a large amount of France at the time, and so Henry VI was King of France and England, but the dual monarchy was very difficult for the young king, and eventually more English land was lost. Back home in England though, Henry VI was very passionate about art and education. This can be seen as he was the founder. He founded Eton College, as we can see here, still operating today, 600 years later, and King's College in Cambridge, of course still going today. He founded these two colleges during his reign. But then in 1453, Henry VI became very ill, and he was unfit to rule during this time, and so Richard, Duke of York, a descendant of Edward III and had a very strong claim to the throne, was chosen as protector. Now a year later, Henry VI did recover in 1455, but Richard did not want to give up power, as he believed his claim was stronger than Henry's, and so began the Wars of the Roses, with the Yorkists under Richard and the Lancastrians under Henry VI. So pitted against Henry was Richard, the Duke of York, asserting his legitimate claim to the throne, as he was descended, like I say, from Edward III's second surviving son, and Henry VI was descended from Edward's third surviving son, so potentially even a stronger claim than the king. Now the Wars of the Roses were therefore a struggle to decide who would be king and who the succession line would pass to throughout the families of linking to the monarchy. Now I haven't mentioned King Henry VI's wife, who is, as you can see here, Margaret, the wife of King Henry VI, and the two had only one son, as we can see here, and their one son was Edward, Prince Edward, the Prince of Wales, as we can see there. Now at this time, Richard, Duke of York, was very, very powerful in London, and he of course therefore controlled the Tower of London, and used this fortress to imprison many of his enemies, the high-ranking dukes and earls of Somerset and things like that, but this was frowned upon very, very heavily by Parliament, as he was overstepping in their eyes, and so because of this, he fled to Ireland for refuge during this time. So he was out of the country at the time. But in 1460, after success in previous battles, Henry VI was captured in Northampton as he was defeated, and then he himself was imprisoned in the Tower of London at the beginning of the 1460s. He was held there as prisoner. And in 1460, Richard, Duke of York, was killed at the Battle of Wakefield. So Henry VI imprisoned, and Richard, Duke of York, is killed. But Richard, Duke of York, had a son. Although he himself couldn't claim the throne, Henry VI was captured, and his son had the same claims as him, of course, down through their bloodline, and so Edward was made King Edward IV. On the 4th of March in 1461, he was crowned as king. The same year, Henry VI was freed, but he had lost the throne, so he was on the run and not on the throne, so he had lost power over the country. Now on the 28th of June in 1461, Edward IV had his coronation at Westminster Abbey, securing him as the King of England, although the Lancastrians still did rebel And in 1465, Henry VI was captured again during a rebellion, and once again he was held at the Tower of London for the second time. Now in the late 1460s, King Edward IV loses some key battles against his Lancastrian enemies, and this leads to, on the 11th of May in 1470, Henry VI being released and restored as king. So now Edward IV is now deposed, and Henry VI is back on the throne for his second reign. But his second reign did not last long, as in 1471 Henry VI was again captured, and once again, for the third time, held in the Tower of London, and for the second time deposed off the throne. And then soon after, on the 21st of April in 1471, Henry VI was murdered at the Tower of London, and his son was also killed that month, so Edward IV was the undisputed King of England, and now begins his second reign on the throne again, which lasts obviously unchallenged until his death, as this does end the War of the Roses. So there we go. Comment down below any extra facts you know. Please subscribe if you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon for some more coins and history in the future on Bits and Bobs. Goodbye for now.